You also.
We are starting the meeting at 5:30 in order to allow time for any further discussion and presentation of the City of Brunswick fiscal budget. But we will begin by having the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And this evening, Pastor Michael Hardy with Guiding Light Ministries International is going to be leading us in prayer. So if you would please rise.
Let's pray. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for just all things that have come to pass in this day. And as we come here, have come here to the courts of the city, we just choose to just acknowledge your presence, trusting in you in all thy ways so that you can direct our path. We just thank you for just moments like this where a time could be reserved and we pray together prior to the commission this meeting, Lord. So we pray for us, all of our city officials. We lift up Mayor Cosmo Johnson and his term as mayor and all of the city commissioners, Lord. We just thank you, Lord. Every sector of our city government. We pray for Brunswick, Georgia, city on the coast, and productive city, giving way to world economies, to the world. So we pray that continue to prosper, Lord God, and everything come together for the benefit of good citizens. Lord God. We just thank you. We just thank you for those in the faith community, Lord God, that are able to come, Lord. So we pray, for God, that the time will even come, that the bonds will just continue to just spur, Lord God, the time that we deserve, we can just lay hands on our city officials and God, God, and speak prophetically, Lord, just as the Isaiah and Elijah and Elisha did to the kings of the Old Testament, Lord God. And so we just bless you for just that will come to pass, Lord God. So as the meeting persists and continues, we pray that all things will work for the good, for all of our good. We pray for peace and unity in the spirit and the bond of peace. And this we pray, it's just a few of our requests. We ask in Jesus' name. We thank you.
Amen.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hardy. We appreciate you opening our meeting. Do I need to do anything other official in order to conduct the meeting in the absence of the mayor? No. Okay, thank you. Then we will open up the public hearing and presentation from City Manager McDuffie on the city's proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present information regarding the proposed budget for 2024 for the city of Brunswick. I have given this presentation a number of times and look forward to trying to move this on my computer. We are at the point of the public hearing for the budget, and we will be conducting that public hearing today. We have the final budget approval, which is scheduled for our June 17th meeting, which is upcoming, well, excuse me, June 21st meeting. I don't know why I'm on the 17th. And we will have our budget resolution with all the required funds at that time for approval. We start off the budget with the general fund, of course, at $20,257,968, which is a 7.9% increase over projected revenues and expenditures for FY '23. We are also proposing to have revenue recovery from our ARPA funds added to the budget in the amount of $4.1 million. Of course, just highlights for the budget include property taxes at $4.5 million, sales taxes are budgeted at $9 million, and other taxes at $3.9 million. Our total revenues are 90% total taxes, with 10% being generated from other sources. Our budget also proposes to have appropriated fund balance of $550,000 to meet the balancing of our expenditures. The other areas of revenue include decreases in our municipal court revenue and building permits of about $300,000 under what was budgeted or approved for last year. The budget includes 237 authorized positions. 206 of those are budgeted for this fiscal year. We have 12 additional positions added to the budget, and that should be actually 13. The 11 personnel will be added to the budget through the recreation department, including ground maintenance. 1 person added for human resources and 1 for information technology. The budget does include a 3% salary increase that will be effective December 1st. Key initiatives in the budget includes housing development and community revitalization, community engagement and outreach, our reestablishment of our city recreation program, and public transportation. Additional highlights include $50,000 in funds for community engagement and community outreach. We will have a city election this year, which is budgeted at $45,000. We have $50,000 of funding for boarding up houses and blighted areas and legal processing for that. We also are proposing $50,000 for funding for the land bank, $100,000 to continue our efforts in recruitment and retention for the police department, $105,000 of equipment for the fire services, and $1.1 million for the recreation department. Again, we are proposing to add revenue recovery from ARPA, and that $4.1 million includes $2.5 million for housing programs and development, $800,000 for business support, $600,000 for Howard Coffin Park, and $220,000 for transit services. As I stated before, our revenues are balanced and basically 90% taxes. There were no significant changes. We feel that our budget revenues are very conservative. We budgeted the property taxes at basically for them to be flat. And we also did not budget the sales tax, which is our largest revenue source. Sales tax we're budgeting at what we collected for 2022. So there's no significant increase in our major revenues. In our expenditures, of course, the major changes, as I stated before, are the increases for recreation and also for the additional positions for the city elections and for the additional funding for boarding up houses and also for the community outreach and engagement. Again, the budget is proposed at $20,257,000 of general fund and an additional $4.1 million for the ARPA fund recovery. I will entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, City Manager McDuffie. Do any of the commissioners, including Commissioner Harris online, have any questions? Then we will open this up for public hearing at this time. So Anybody who is present that wishes to ask any questions or speak in favor or against what is being proposed for the budget for the next coming fiscal year, please step forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, Lance Saby, 1110 Prince Street. I want to say, wow. So thank you to Ms. McDuffie and the staff, because by far, this is the best budget presentation I've seen yet. I've been coming to commission meetings for over 10 years. So it's neat to see, excuse me, the city's key initiatives. And I think the commission and the city has listened to what citizens want to see as we continue to grow in our community. So thank you again, and look forward to an approval on this budget. Thank you.
I do have a couple of more comments that I wanted to make, and these are basically because last year we added funding so that we can meet the needs of the community in terms of response for emergency road maintenance, emergency storm drainage maintenance, and we also included money for hurricane preparedness, because we felt like last year we spent some additional dollars in those areas, and we wanted to support them fully in the budget this year. So just wanted to say that, because I think, you know, it's important for people to know that we are investing more in our storm drainage management and in our hurricane preparedness, making sure that our staffs can be ready and supportive in the time when we have those challenges. But thank you.
And I want you to stay up there for a minute, because we're going to have a little bit of time here. And I just thought, unless there were any other comments that the public had, and certainly anybody's welcome to step forward, but I thought this might be a good opportunity for you as a city manager just to, off the cuff almost, you know, what direction do you see the city? Do you feel like we're moving into a different era, a different step, different focus?
Well, I think, you know, I would like to think that we are meeting the challenges that we know are there. A lot of what we have in the operating budget, you know, doesn't address the major issues such as storm drainage and some of the roads. But I'm very proud to say that our sales tax, the SPLOST that was passed last year, we got our first check in for April, got it in May, last of May. It was actually 28% higher than what was projected. So we are getting in funding for those projects. And with the cost increase that we have seen over the last couple of years, I am very glad to see that, because we felt like, you know, what we projected our budget on a lot of the projects that we have in place was significantly lower than what we've seen in actual bids and costs that have come in recently. So that increase in dollars that's coming in for the SPLOST definitely will help us to meet those goals. You know, and one of the areas that I think is important, and this is why housing development and programs is put in the budget under that ARPA fund, is so that we can start looking at the housing inventory in our community and helping support the development. We hope to develop, you know, establish some public-private partnerships, help to encourage development in a lot of different areas. Certainly, the land bank is significant in its efforts to start that process. And so, you know, those are the things I think that are really, really important to reimagining this community in future years.
Thank you. And, you know, I think we're all reading that, you know, we have a shortage of, you know, builders and carpenters and contractors and people that can help keep up with the demand that we now have for new housing. Well, not just new housing, but a lot of rehab work and taking these properties that we need to give a facelift to and put them back in good condition in order to rent. It's very challenging. So thank you for all the effort that you have made, and all of the directors and managers of other departments and filtering through and coming up with this budget. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Any other questions or comments from the public? If so, you're welcome to step forward and provide your name and any comments or thoughts that you have about the upcoming budget. Well, I will say hearing none, then we will close out the public hearing for the proposed budget, and we will hold off until, oh, we can proceed? Okay. All right. So then we will go ahead and move into our regular scheduled meeting. And if we have an adoption or an approval for the agenda or any changes or amendments to the written agenda. Oh, okay. Yes, okay.
Do I need to announce the defining?
Um,
Do you have any?
Deputy Marshal, do we need to go ahead and defer one of the, or at the time to do that, or? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would need a motion to take action on that if you want to go ahead and do it.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer off of item number 3, the new alcohol and beverage license for Barbara Garcia's.
Okay, I have a motion to defer that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Kaysen. All those in favor of deferring this item for the new alcohol beverage license for Bubba Garcia's at 201 Gloucester Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then our city manager McDuffie wanted the privilege of being able to come forward with a specific announcement.
Thank you. Just going to take a privilege to introduce 2 new staff members who we've added to the city workforce. And they will be, very important to our operations going forward. First, Mandy Sapp, who is our new municipal court chief clerk. So Mandy's in the audience, and I will allow her to come up and introduce herself. Mandy comes from Camden County.
Yes, my name is Mandy Sapp. I have over 11 years of clerk and deputy clerk experience from City of Kingsland Municipal Court and Camden County Probate Court. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mandy's been with us for about 3 court dates so far, and she's working well with the judge and the city attorney. The next person is our public information officer, Caroline Hogan, and Caroline came all the way from Turkey. She has worked in the federal government as a public information officer and is relocating here to Brunswick. So Caroline.
Thank you for having me. I'm Carrie Hogan. Really grateful for the opportunity and excited to get going here in the city. It's been a transfer from Turkey. So we're really grateful to settle back in the States and have some time in America. And I'm excited to get locked in with everything here and get going. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just got through adopting the budget, so we're right here. Okay. Going into the public comment period. Yeah,
Okay.
you got one person on there. Look, guy. I don't see it.
We will now move on, if I'm not mistaken, to the public comment period, and I will turn it over to, let's see. Oh, we're on the adopted, okay. Okay,
But we didn't yet adopt.
gotcha. Okay, perfect. All right. With that, we will, if there are no more addendums or subtractions to the budget or to the agenda, we will open it for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda for June the 7th, 2023 for the regular scheduled meeting.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. We will now move on to public comment period, and we will turn it over to Ms. Atkinson. Yes, ma'am. If we have no one present for public comment, we'll move on to public hearing, new alcohol beverage licenses. The first one is JE&N Inc. doing business as 5 Points Mini Market. The owner is Mr. Patel at 2806 Alabama Avenue, Brunswick, Georgia, retail sale of beer and wine. It's good to see you.
We do have 5 Points here. They did attend an NPA meeting as well, and Mr. Patel is here.
Good evening, Ms. Patel. Yes, thank you for being with us. We usually ask a few base questions of those who come before us for beer and alcohol licenses. And usually that first question is, have you met with the neighborhood planning association that incorporates the area that you want to sell alcohol?
No question.
Have you met with that NPA yet?
Can I have hearing call, so.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Yes, I did.
You have attended the NPA meeting, okay. And what was the feedback from that neighborhood planning association meeting? Yeah, no doubt. And what NPA is this? Midtown, okay. Chairperson was there, heard him out, and they had conversation. Okay, solid. I will now open it for questions from the commission. If there are no questions.
I do have a question. I have a question.
Yeah, all right.
How long have you been open at that location? I know the store has been there for a while, but how long have you been open?
I just took over in January.
Okay. What other items do you sell? Do you have like milk, egg, bread?
Not that. Yeah, just all grocery and soft drinks and chips and and laundry.
Okay, so being that you have groceries and we're in a food desert, you should be okay to
Yes.
make money, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And I just have an issue because not too far, if you drive 2 minutes up, there's a liquor store on the corner. And then there's a gas station, Davies, that sells beer and wine as well. So having another is that's a lot of alcohol in that area. So.
So. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to be, just a here, so we're not going to have wine. We're not going to have wine and just a beer. Yeah, so.
I want to try and reiterate to be direct. it is important to us that we don't create, where there is a food desert, a plethora of options for bad health options as well as alcohol. We can't stop you from selling chips and Slim Jims and all of that kind of stuff. However, it's important to many of the commissioners on this commission, if not all, that you sell actual health produce items that includes fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, honest juice, milk, bread, options, because 9 times out of 10, most stores and most corner stores are open to SNAP benefits, and those SNAP benefits are used on benefits that really create food deserts in our community. So it's important to us for us to hear what it is. I know at least for several of our commissioners, it's important for us to hear what it is that you will be selling. The reason that's important is we have seen several stores that are of the corner store fashion, same as you would be opening up on Norwich Street, survive without selling alcohol at all. They sell fresh meat, they sell fruits, they sell vegetables. So it's important for us to understand what it is that you will be selling in your facility. So will there be any, I'm trying not to use the word fresh because then I put myself in a corner. Will you have vegetables? Will you have fruit? Will you have milk, water, bread, those types of things?
Yeah, we are going to do that. And maybe as long as the food license just be received, so we're going to just now add on everything.
So that's what I would say is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that's currently not a part of your plan. Currently, it's not a part of your plan to do fresh fruit, fresh vegetables,
Not a fresh
meats,
food.
or anything like that.
We are going to carry the bread and milk and all others.
He's saying it won't be fresh fruit, but it will have bread and milk.
Milk and all eggs and like that.
Okay. All right. I will pass that on.
That's good.
I want to, so we can move hopefully quickly through these processes. It's important for me that you not only meet with the NPA, which is the Neighborhood Planning Association, but you also have a variety of items that allows the neighborhoods that you all do business in to be healthier. So for me as the mayor, it's not a good answer to hear chips, candy, alcohol, beer, wine, lottery tickets, Swisher Sweets, tobacco products, keep going down the line, right? That's not sufficient for me to be 5 points in that space to open up, to lean into Commissioner Roll. There is alcohol, beer, and wine sales literally 1 block up. 1 block up from where you all are. There are 2 areas that you can buy liquor, that you can buy beer, that you can buy wine, that you can buy all of the snacks that you are talking about. So with that, it's important for us to know what other plans you have to expand outside of those base things that are already being sold a block away from you.
Well, like normally whatever the convenience store is selling, that's what this was C-store. So, and they had before the alcohol license, beer and wine. So we just like to continue to sell the, beer and all of the grocery and everything, whatever the convenience store selling,
I understand. what I would do is open it up for other questions from the commission.
Mayor, this is Commissioner Harris. Did we not address this location before for a similar request?
Because this is new sales. Yeah. So I mean, I would prefer to hear from the membership of the NPA rather than just the chair.
Mhm.
Because this is new, and I mean, I speak from 11 years of sitting here, and as a mother and now a grandmother, getting up on a school morning and trying to go find milk or eggs. But before the grocery stores opened and all the convenience stores were open, and they all sold beer and wine and alcohol, but no bread, no milk. I couldn't, no eggs. I could not find any of that. So I think that's part of what we're looking for, is a wholesomeness and the availability of just general food items during your hours of operation that don't solely depend upon the sale of beer and wine and alcohol.
With that, are there any other questions or comments?
When does this NPA meet again? Mhm. I mean, this is part of the problem.
10th of July. Okay. Have you all been operating? Are you all open right now, or are you all closed?
We are open.
You are open. Okay. So you are open right now and existing without selling beer and wine at this current moment.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer this particular issue of alcohol beverage license for JE&N 5 Points Mini Mart at 2806 Altama Avenue until after the NPA can meet.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion is passed and the item is deferred. Thank you, Mr. Patel.
So can we make sure that the NPA is notified and that the chair needs to, if they're not going to all meet together, that somehow, I really feel like this is an opportunity to make sure that all of our NPAs understand that we're working hard to protect the neighborhoods and, that sense of community, but we can't do it without them being on board too. Yeah.
What we will do is, I know City Manager McDuffie did an amazing job introing our new public information officer. So we will immediately be putting that into her bailiwick to knock out so let's make sure we lock in the full schedule, get it to our public information officer so we can go ahead and be months ahead of that. It's perfect. Thank you so much. We will now move on to Pie Guys Pizza. The owner is Mr. Espinoza, if I'm saying that correctly. He is not here. Okay. It is usually my custom to defer things if someone is not here. Okay. If I would open it up for someone to make a motion to defer this until I'm not gonna say defer it into the next meeting, defer it. There
And
we
you
go.
say he's already met with the NPA?
For High Guide, and they are. Magnolia Park.
Oh, so yeah, nah, Pastor Mushinson.
They mostly have their NDA on, they did, have a steering meeting, and it's now a mass email concerning.
Okay.
And I do have those, via email and contact me, whether they want it.
Okay.
But I have those printed.
Yeah, I usually like to set a precedent that if you're gonna sell alcohol in the community, you can show up to the meeting to walk through those questions. So if they have met with the MPA, though, I'm happy to defer it until the next meeting. If there is, we'll open it for motion.
I'll make a motion that we defer the new alcohol beverage license for Pie Guys Pizza until the next
The next June. When's
June
the next
commission
meeting?
meeting.
Miss Naomi,
21st.
to the June 21st meeting. Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Bubba Garcia's was deferred, if I'm correct. And now we will go to Danny's Corner. Mr. Desai. Mr. Desai, who is here, 2432 Newcastle Street, Brunswick, Georgia, retail sales of beer and wine. Mr. Desai, you can come forward, please. How you doing, Mr. Desai? As before, I would open up and ask, have you met with your neighborhood planning association for which your business will be located in? Okay. Yep.
It's the old A1.
Mhm.
What MPA is this? Midtown? Okay. Do we have the same issue there? One person and all that. Okay. I would be moving in the same place with this one as we moved on the other one, to ask there to be outreach to the Midtown one. I know where your shop is. I know where it would be. It is still of the same proximity as the other. You're probably you're a block south to a gas station right there by that church that sells beer and wine. And then you're a block up towards Hopkins Homes to another gas station that sells beer and wine along that same strip. So it would be my hope to defer this the same way as we have the other one, and to make sure on our internal push that we would make sure Midtown shows up to at least, give their outlook on it. So I'll open it up for questions, but if there are none, we'll open it up for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we defer until the June 17th.
21st.
Oh, sorry, June 21st. For the consideration of the new alcohol beverage license for Danny's Corner at 2432 Newcastle Street.
Go ahead. You had a question?
Well, I was just I don't see where there's any sort of block or two where this.
You're-
is actually at.
Are you at the corner of O?
Yes. And was money.
The old,
That's O
the
Street.
concrete block. That, yeah, the concrete block, if you come,
That's at the corner of O
yeah,
Street.
if you come
Yeah.
into downtown,
Mhm.
you've automatically entered a space where there is alcohol being sold. If you go one block up, I don't know the name of that gas station, but there's a gas station right there. It's close to where you live, like
Mhm.
right out by Hopkins Homes
It's
as
a
you're
Mirror Mart.
near a Miramart. And so that sells beer and alcohol. And then if you're going down the other way, I'm blanking on the name of the church, but there's an all white smaller church and there's a gas station right there on the corner and then a tow truck area right there beside it. I'm not going to say I've tracked it on my Apple Watch or anything, but I would say a solid a walk that you would be comfortable walking there and having your alcohol and walking back. And I understand that you're trying to service the marina, which I completely understand. What and when we say servicing the marina, this is just me throwing it out, and I'm not trying to suppress your business at all. If the marina is part of the Midtown NPA, then we would ask those who are citizens of the marina to show up to that NPA to say, hey, we would love this to be a part of our community. But those members of the marina also walk right across the street to Schroeder's and grab a 6-pack and grab wine and grab a whole host of other alcoholic beverages and can walk right back across the street to the marina. Bait and tackle, totally different. I understand that market. Perfect. Okay. All of those things, as you look towards your future, it doesn't seem like it'll happen in the next week and a half or so. So give us time to, I think, put together the MPA. Again, if you have friends in the marina who are saying, we will frequent your store, I think it is incumbent upon you as a business owner to make sure they get to that MPA meeting when it's set, so they can profess that they would, love an option right there across the street. With that, we do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Hold on a second.
Yep.
So the reason we're deferring it is we like to hear from the residents that live in these areas. So that's kind of what we're doing here.
Yes, ma'am. The previous applicant, it was granted a license, that is facility. They have received several signatures from people back in the day when the other store.
It's a
I mean,
different.
I don't know how
applicant, though.
old that is, how
Well,
pertinent
that's
it
what I'm
is.
saying, this was for the previous operator that actually was granted a license at that facility,
That was another,
but they never opened up.
that was 2016. So that was previous to this new administration. So
Yeah.
Well,
we have a,
in any event, I thought that they had once or twice been granted that might not be an issue, especially since they're trying to service the marina community, which I'm participating in. I like really looks to get all my stuff on the boat and road.
Mhm.
But anyway, they wanted to say that. I appreciate it.
And I think we still leave it open for the marina community to come voice their
This has been closed
honesty to
for a
the
while,
MPA.
The
Yep.
shop. I mean, y'all just recently reopened or were opened. So I know y'all had been closed up for a while.
Mm-hmm. There have been several people, this is Commissioner Harris, and I hope you all can hear me. There have been a couple of other proprietors that have come in the interim of the business being opened, then closed for a extended period of time, then opened again. And it has been an extended period of time that there has not been a sale or a request granted. And so from my seat and seeing that all of these businesses are coming with the same request when there are already previously established businesses and a saturation of these type of requests in vulnerable communities, then we do need to hear from the residents, because we don't want to continue to see that saturation take place in these communities. And I think it has been voiced pretty clearly by these communities that their preference of having wholesome options come to their communities. And so I think that this commission has voiced that in hearing the community's voices to say, bring us other options, bring us more wholesome options. And everyone that has and continues to bring the stores are not hearing the voices of the community. And we continue to repeat these same requests, but there are not any wholesome or different options being afforded or provided in these communities.
Duly noted, Commissioner Harrison, totally agree. Again, I think we circle back. We have a motion on the table to defer this item into the next meeting on the 21st. With that motion, do we hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Your item is deferred until our next meeting. If you meet with our deputy marshal, we will get in touch with that MPA. And I'm going to assume the marina community you are speaking of is the Torres Marina community. I will get Deputy Marshal the contact information for the owners of the marina. We will be happy to send out a blast to those residents so that they can show up to the next MPA meeting and speak favorably for you all. So we'll make sure we do that. Okay. All right.
Probably 90% of the docks goes to the Rapids Marina. These people don't live in Brunswick.
No, we understand that.
Yeah. So getting some feedback from the individuals, will be the end consumers, might be kind of tough. So we do have a neighborhood around that was previously okay. Ran around all that, but that's back in 2016. New day, we understand. Yes, sir. I just wanted to also add, the Veterans Memorial Park is now where
I can't understand him.
Can you talk in the mic? Just
the Veterans Memorial Park is quality of a gas station. And I know that was the end of this event, but still felt like that would be a needed and wanted service from local community to be able to go by, they tap it, get bread, eggs, milk and stuff, for day trips on those, different market than for grocery shopping, for the home store. And so most of that requires coming to bait, tackle, ice, and quite frankly, people get on the boat that I think that they have to go here for. Be allowed to do what he needs to.
Right. No, we appreciate that. And we hope to reach out to all communities, whether it's the one that backs up to or the marina community to get them out and hear their opinion. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor, can I comment on the fact that the MPA has had poor attendance? So we will work to try and see if there's some way we can at least engage the community and get some response.
No doubt. And again, I'm a pivot to the fact that we got a PIO on that vein will be opened up. We'll now move on to
I need to, excuse me, I need to, is that mic working? Cause I cannot hear anything but muffling.
I don't.
Well, I think the other crucial piece is,
There we go.
is making sure that our NPAs are prepared to speak via email just as easily as in person.
Yeah.
Because, we don't want to create a hardship for somebody who's opening up a business and, they don't meet but every other month or something. We really need to probably make sure that each of these NPAs understand what we're trying to accomplish and that, we have their best interest in mind and making sure that their voices are heard, because that's the whole issue with the NPAs. And without creating a hardship to a new business owner. So to the degree that we can make sure we're doing our part to accelerate those communications and getting that information flowing and those voices heard, then it's easier for us to move forward.
Right.
I would agree. And to the point that the motion that was just passed, I feel like it's locked in and we have to put the onus on those MPA leaders to connect to the membership, build a base of membership, build a connectivity list that they can reach out to. So we make sure we don't hold up businesses and the like. So we'll be in touch with that MPA leader. Is it you said Midtown?
Yes.
So that's Mr. Muhammad?
Yes.
No,
No, that's Pastor Dickerson.
Who?
Dickerson.
Pastor Dickerson. Okay. Yep. We'll touch base with him to make sure. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you. We will now move on to public hearings for land use. Consider approval of conditional use petition number 23-01 from Rufus and Lapika Johnson, petitioning for conditional use to construct a triplex residence at 2802 Hunter Street. Director Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the commission. As you stated, Rufus and Lapika Johnson are requesting a conditional use to construct a triplex residence at 2802 Hunter Street. The subject parcel is 0.24 plus or minus acres with an existing 540 square foot vacant structure. That structure will be demolished as part of this project. The subject parcel is outlined in blue on the map that you can see in the report or on the screen currently. And that's right at the corner of Hunter and Hopkins. The subject parcel is zoned general residential. The parcels to the northeast and west are also zoned general residential, and the parcels to the south are zoned basic industrial. The property currently contains a small home that's been vacant for some time. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing structure and construct a 2,430 square foot triplex. Each unit will be 810 square feet and contain 2 bedrooms. Off-street parking will be provided for each unit. Here on the screen now, you can see the site plan for that property. And this is a rendering from all different elevations. So you can see the front, rear, and side views of the triplex. The multifamily dwellings are conditional uses within the general residential zone and are subject to approval by the city commission. And you can place conditions on this parcel to make certain that the conditional use is compatible with the surrounding uses. Staff notes that the permit authorizing a conditional use would only be valid for that particular conditional use and would expire if the conditional use or operation pertaining thereto ceases for more than 6 continuous months. If the conditional use expires, the property can still be used for any of the permitted uses in the general residential zoning district. The parcel is 10,500 square feet. The parcel meets our minimum lot areas for multifamily homes, which the minimum lot area there is 6,000 square feet. Based on our density table within our general residential zone, they are allowed to operate or build a triplex as it exceeds the required 2,650 square feet per unit.
We will now open it up for questions. Ms. Johnson,
You want to come?
you can come to the front. You doing okay today? We appreciate your work. We appreciate you making Brunswick home and doing some work in Brunswick to provide housing. So thank you. With that, we'll open it up for questions.
Do y'all have a way to build it? There's such a shortage of contractors, and do y'all do the work yourself, or do you have somebody who does it? Yeah. Okay. There are some very nice, yes, yeah. But I think it would be very appropriate for that area. I've driven through that area many times, and the lot sizes are very generous. And there's actually an 8-plex, I think, at the end of Hunter Street that's very attractive and very homey. So I would certainly hope that y'all create that same environment, and that might be a good option right over in that area. So thank you. Where are you coming from? Yeah. Okay. I didn't know if you were coming in from somewhere else. So your hometown. Okay, good. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Ms. Johnson?
Just as Commissioner Martin stated, I'm just thankful that you all are helping with the housing shortage that we have here. And that's pretty much, I'm excited to see the development, and, thank you again.
You didn't find an old car on that lot, did you?
Are
So-
you this small?
So help me, for years, there was a 1963 Thunderbird that was parked right back in. You could just barely see it. You had to like them to know it was there. And that thing stayed there for years too. It was-
Probably melted into the earth.
I'm telling you, I used to have one just like it. I really did. But it was there. I can't tell you how long it stayed there. I'm sure it's gone now. Wish you could dig it up though.
Ms. Johnson, I can't tell you how thankful I am that you all are working in this space. It's what our city needs. And I'm beyond thankful that someone from our city is taking the ingenuity to start to work in this space. So I'm thankful for you. Thank you. Some quick questions for Director Hunter. This is just me asking for posterity's sake. We just went through a development that came through the Planning and Appeals Commission. There were several questions asked of developments that come through the Planning and Appeals Commission. I want to ask a couple questions to see if this does not affect me thinking this is good. I think this is good. I'm in favor. This is just me asking questions. So I promise this ain't even for you. Okay. I see that the parking is on street parking.
No, it's not.
Okay.
They're off streets.
Yeah, I don't think it works.
No. you
There
just
we
have to
go.
Hold it.
All right.
I'll just use it like this.
Yeah.
So it actually proposes off-street parking.
Off-street.
The kind of three rectangles coming off of Hopkins Avenue
Okay.
toward the footprint of the house would provide 2 parking spaces for each unit.
Perfect. Thank you. And that space provides space for how many cars?
It would be at least 6.
At least
So-
6.
And we require 2 spaces per unit, so it meets our minimum parking.
Okay.
requirement.
And then the follow-up question that I have is, I know we've asked several developers about how much they would be renting these spots for, and if that fits inside of what this community attributes as affordable. It truly does not matter to me. And the reason I say it does not matter to me is it's not a yes or no, because I think we need all types of housing in Brunswick. We need low to moderate income housing. We need regular housing. We need everything. I'm just wondering, did the Planning and Appeals Commission happen to ask about the affordability of the?
We did not get into the affordability of this project.
Okay.
I think I have 2 members of the Planning Commission here tonight, so I don't want to speak for them.
Yeah, and I don't
But-
want to misspeak.
But I would say, in my view, smaller individual projects like this, whether it's a duplex, a triplex, or even probably up to a quadplex
Mhm.
that are being done by incremental development by, small business owners who are doing this themselves. They're looking toward a target that I think meets our market, and they're not gonna have necessarily the overhead constraints that's gonna drive a rent model for a 200 unit apartment complex.
Mhm.
So in
Mhm.
It'll all be in scale. Yeah. Mhm. And what your building costs are too. I mean, all of that's going to have to get factored in.
Well, and the reason I think it's good to set a precedent, and I'm not asking these questions because I think they're off kilter. I'm asking these questions because Ms. Johnson and those who have invested in this property will have to consume a whole host of things to start to think about what you would be able to rent these properties for. And you all haven't come to that determination just yet, I'm assuming, or maybe I'm asking. Okay. Okay. Right. No, I completely understand. Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
Is the mic out again?
Commissioner Harris, I think they're working on the mic for you so you can hear Ms. Johnson. Hold on 1 second.
I was just saying that
Thank
we have other properties, so we're not one of them franchise that's reaching for the stars
Yes, ma'am.
with some rent. So we do have an understanding of rents and the cost of it.
In the space area. No, I appreciate that. And I thank you for thinking about our local community as you're building your housing. So I appreciate that. Any other questions from the commission?
I have one other question. Looking at the floor plan, it's obviously two bedroom, only 1 bathroom is drawn out. I see a kitchen space. Is it a 2 bathroom or just a 1? It is a 2-2. Okay, thank you.
I want to kind of piggyback on just something real briefly that the mayor said. And I do understand the comment that was made, but we as a commission must be of a mindset that yes, we do need all types of housing, but until we determine as a commission that we are going to require certain things of developers, then it's going to be a free fall. And while we do need all types of housing, it is incumbent upon us as a commission to have a demand intricately within our requirements for future development, that there is a space carved out for equitable housing. And we're saying affordable housing. Affordable is a broad term as well as market rate is a broad term. But unless we are intentional in making sure that there is an equitable market for market rate, affordable housing, whatever terminology you want to use, then we are going to see ourselves behind the 8 ball because there is no requirement within our current ordinances that there is a percentage of affordable housing carved out in our development market for housing. And so we've got to be intentional about that. We're in at this present time, we are not. And so thus we will see ourselves in an unbalanced market if we are not intentional about our housing market and how we move in that space going forward.
I hope that I think our full commission would agree that we are working on a myriad of markets, and we would agree with our commissioner, Commissioner Harris. And it sounds like Mr. and Mrs. Johnson are working inside of that market to ensure.
And I want to say, I truly appreciate you all for doing that and having that forward and foresight to do that.
No, I think it's a blessing to have you all working inside that market. So with that, I'll open it for a motion. Or we have public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, there we go. So anyone from the public, I know we have 2 members of the Planning and Appeals Commission. I'm not calling you up to say anything. We had a 5-0 vote, so I know you guys are thumbs up. Anyone else from the public? If we don't have any, we'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use petition number 22-01 from Rufus and Lapika Johnson petitioning for conditional use to construct a triplex residence at 2802 Hunter Street.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Director Hunter. And thank you to our Planning and Appeals Commission members for being here as well. We'll move on to appointments. We have a whole host of them. I am going to do something mean and turn this over to to Ms. Atkinson. I know the hospital board, we have 3 nominations that we send to them. Planning and Appeals Commission, we have 2 open appointments. DDA, 3 open appointments. Tree Board, 2 open. Audit, so and so forth. So we'll open it up to Ms. Atkinson.
I'll make a motion that we move forward the 3 nominations presented to the Hospital Authority Board.
Second.
Hearing the first and the second, all those show by the usuals. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion is passed. We'll move on to the Planning and Appeals Commission, Ms. Atkinson.
Make a motion that we approve the reappointment of Lance Savy and Grace Green to the Planning and Appeals Commission.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We'll now move on to the DDA.
Do I need to recuse myself? As a, okay. I hereby recuse myself.
Okay, we have 5 applications and 3 appointees, 3 openings. So that means we will need to go one by one. Right. Okay. All right. I will open it for discussion or a motion. Since I do not know if there will be a 3.
It's 3 spots.
So seeing what I'm seeing before me, there's 3 spots open. 5 people on. So we will need a motion for, I think it would probably be better to go one by one. Because I don't know if these things will initially align. The easiest one that I will go ahead and start out with my Mayor Pro Tem who is recused is for Mayor Pro Tem Julie Martin, and I would open it up for a motion that she continue her service. So we will open that one first for a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to approve Julie Martin.
Hearing a first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, Julie Martin is reappointed. We will now move on to Miss Courtney Prince, who has resigned, and we will open it up from a motion for a motion from the names that remain, which is Travis Stiegel, Peggy Shanahan, Susan Bates, and Ann Goldstein. We will open it for a motion.
I make a motion for Susan Bates.
Good. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll second Susan Bates.
We got a first and a second on Susan Bates. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Susan Bates now replaces Miss Courtney Prince, who has resigned.
Motion to approve Ann Goodstein.
And now we have a motion for Peggy Shanahan to be replaced by Miss Ann Goodstein. Hearing a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye.
Because I'm going based off, because she wanted to make a motion first, but initially when we put the applications out, Travis was one that was the only one that submitted initially the first time. He was gonna be my motion, but yeah, initially from the last meeting,
Travis was there.
was he the only applicant at the time?
Okay, so what we would need to do, just for posterity's sake, is to, at this point, have the motion be rescinded by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. Do I hear that? That motion is rescinded. Having that motion rescinded, we will now open it for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Travis Stiegel to the Downtown Development Authority Board.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Travis Stiegel is appointed to replace Miss Shanahan. With that, we will move on. I hope you're following me, Miss Naomi, because I just lost my page. What's the next one?
Tree board.
Tree board. There we go. 2 appointments. Thank you. All right, we'll open it up. Miss Atkinson. And it's 2 for 2, right? All right. We will open it for a motion.
Motion to accept the nominations as submitted for the tree.
Here in a,
board.
thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Harris. Here in a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now move on to the Audit Committee for one appointment. Look, did somebody roll off or is he replacing himself? Somebody resigned.
Danietta Kitts resigned, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and tell me the name of who we have locked in. DeLon Williams.
DeLon. Mhm.
Okay, we have a Mr. Williams before us. All those in favor, or do we have a motion?
Motion to accept Mr. Williams as presented.
Here in the first, do I have a second? Here in the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now move on to Coastal African American Historic Preservation Commission. 2 appointments.
One name submitted.
Okay, with one being set before us, I would say that that's the one we consider. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Roosevelt Harris.
Yes, sir. Here in the first, do I hear a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question. Will this will continue to be advertised for? Okay.
Here in the first and the second for Roosevelt Harris. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. And so we still have one vacancy on that board. And then we will now move on to Historic Preservation Board for 3 appointees.
One second. Okay.
Me too. Okay. Three. So do you want to take these individually? These are, so there's 3 positions. Or Josh wants to come back. Dolores wants to come back, and then these 2.
If there's discussion,
Two.
that has to be open and public.
I apologize. She is showing me the names that I'm about to say. So full service, I'm gonna keep the mic on. Yeah, no. Talk.
I guess my question when it comes to everyone that's already on the board at this current moment, like how active has the individuals been?
Both Mr. Dukes and Ms. Polite have been very active on the Historic Preservation Board.
Okay.
I think this would be Ms. Polite's 3rd term. Mr. Dukes just completed an unfinished term. And both are very active, not just with the Preservation Board, but involved in local historic preservation efforts.
So along that same line, with the people appointed to this board, historically speaking, how much training do they have in order to serve adequately?
It varies. Most of our board members over the years have not necessarily been professionals. They have some experience or background in either preserving a historic home, having worked with a preservation-related nonprofit, or may have a history background of some kind. Mr. Dukes actually runs a Golden Eyes History Facebook page and does archival photo restoration in and amongst with his work. Ms. Polite has been very active in preservation efforts locally and in California when she lived there. Obviously, I know Mr. Spencer and Ms. Hurley both have a great deal of experience as well. Most people coming to a preservation board don't have actual preservation board experience, but the state provides 3 opportunities during the course of the year for us to send or participate in pretty close to immediate training. So they get versed in what the responsibilities are. Plus, that's part of what my job is, working with the board.
Thank you. So how do you want to take
We
these?
take them one by one. We will initially, sorry about that. We will initially take the 2 who are on there, who we just said were active. So Mr. Dukes, his term expires, but he's also up. So we will open it for a motion.
I'll make
a
a-
motion to approve Josh Hughes and Dolores Polite.
Okay.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. We will now open it for the third for the motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Jerry Spencer
Second.
for.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, hearing none, the motion passes. We will now move on. We will now move on to the one appointment for Coastal Regional Commission. Mr. Shaw McVeigh has an expired term. He is put in to continue to serve on the Coastal Regional Commission, and I will be appointing him right back to the Coastal Regional Commission. So Mr. Shaw McVeigh is appointed to that commission.
I'd like to speak real quick about that, just because I have served as a elected official on the CRC, and Shaw McVeigh does an excellent job. I think we are well represented with his appointment to the CRC. So,
He's been there 50 years.
and he still speaks his mind.
Mr. McVeigh, I did not say you were there 50 years. If you're listening, that was Johnny Case, and I want that to be written down. But no, we thank you and Mayor Pro Tem Martin for your service. The Coastal Regional Commission does a host of things in our community and is an amazing community partner. And we know we get as much out of them because we have good local leadership on their board. So Mr. McVeigh, thank you for that. We'll move on to items to consider for approval. Consider approval of May 17, 2023 regular scheduled minutes. We'll open it up for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We will now move on to consider approval of financial reports as of April 30th, 2023. Director Mills. Yeah, we gotta get the mic for Commissioner Harris. We're not gonna get in trouble.
Took away one of my hands. Okay. Okay, you have the financial reports as of April 30th. At that point, we are 83% through with the current fiscal year. Revenues and expenditures for the month, we had expenditures over revenues. But as I normally point out, at this point in the year, we do not have a lot of tax money coming in. Mostly, the majority of our funds come from the sales taxes, so it's not unusual for us to see expenditures over revenues in the month of April. Year to date, though, we have revenues over expenditures of $4.3 million approximately. We have a cash balance on hand as of April 30th of $11.3 million. On our loss distribution, you can see the numbers for April 23 compared to April 22. We were up 12.29%, which equates to $95,000 lost year to date in comparison to the prior period. At the same time, we are up 9.97%, which is a dollar amount of $697,000. On the next page, we have SPLOST 6. And if you go down halfway on the left-hand side, you will see the cash we still have in SPLOST 6 is approximately $2.2 million. I'm not going to go over all the columns right now. We are getting to the point where we're ready to wind down SPLOST 6. There will still be funds in there as projects are finished up. And we will be looking at numbers, hopefully at the next finance committee meeting of allocating and putting in the remainders and the overages and allocating those funds on out. Although we will still continue to be earning interest on those funds until that money is all gone. And we are gearing up for SPLOS 20. We're naming it SPLOS 22 this year. We're not going to go on with our Roman numerals. The Norwich Street Commons, we have a cash balance of $347,000 in that fund. There's been no activity in that fund other than interest income that has been earned, and that's $9,000 year to date. The Roosevelt Harris Multipurpose Center, you can see our inflows and expenditures giving us a net of $42,000 and a cash balance of $12,000. However, it's I guess it's more important to note the funds that are coming in on Roosevelt Harris. The majority of that money comes from the transfers in from the general fund where we subsidize that center, and also from grant money. We have transferred in a little more than we had anticipated so far this year for Roosevelt Harris, but we are hoping that we will have some additional CRC money coming before the end of the year. Sometimes they lag about 2 months. So we're hoping to be able to bring that hopefully at least maybe not have to pay any more into the fund from the general fund. The ARPA fund, we have received total funds of $9.4 million. You'll see middle of that section, we have dispersed $2.2 million, which leaves us a cash balance as of April 30th of $7.2 million. If you look down, I have the allocations that we are preliminarily making. That will come to the total of what we have received so far. And you can look at those revenue recovery, storm drainage, et cetera, et cetera. We do still show unallocated funds of $1.5 million. And if you look on the right-hand side, you will see the $2.2 million that we have spent, which areas those fall into. But we will be doing some additional work on those and allocating some of those funds and clearing those up as we move forward. The next page is sanitation fund. We have operating income of $946,000, cash on hand of $630,000, and we still have the money set aside for landfill of $196,000. For the month of April, we have trash, illegal refuse, and street sweeping of $145,000. Year to date, $1.3 million. Those numbers do not fluctuate much from 1 month to the next. Stormwater utility, we show total inflows of $1,360,000. You'll note we have outflows of $1,470,000, which gives us a negative balance of expenditures over revenues of $110,000. However, we do still have cash on hand of $433,000, and that negative $110,000 we have the coastal incentive grant that we have already paid out funds to the vendors on that, and we are now in the process of filing the paperwork to get those coastal incentive grants to come in and offset the expenditures we've already paid. So that number will, not stay negative. Other expenses for April, the only one we had was $3,104 for traffic control. And that was for 3 street signs, and there were several small repairs in that. Last page is the Roosevelt Lawrence Center. You'll see total expenditures for the month of approximately $8,000. Year to date, we're at $115,000. Those, obviously, the majority of the funds, the money there is spent on human resources, and we will see some of those numbers go up as we go into full-time after school, or the programs that are in place for the summer. We'll have some temporary or some part-time employees that will be working, and some of those numbers will go up some. I think that's everything, but if you have any questions, I will be glad to try to answer them.
Any questions? this could be my own ignorance, so this is just me asking a real question. I could have missed it. Have we started collections on News Plus?
Yes, we just received $600 and something thousand last, I think it's in the last 2 or 3 days, actually.
Okay, so that came in.
At the end
We've
of
started
May. We
at the
did
end of
receive-
May.
yes.
Okay.
So we have 600 and something.
I was wondering.
$1,000.
Okay, I appreciate that. Any additional questions? Hearing none, we'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the financial report as of April 30th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Hearing a first and a second, all those in favor, show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Director Mills. Miss, yeah. Thank you, Director Mills. We will now move on to City Attorney's items. Or I'm sorry, one more item. Consider approval to renew contract with the Georgia Department of Corrections for Labor Services. Director Albertson, is he online?
No, he's not here.
Okay,
He's
Gotcha. Okay.
vacationing, I
Mm.
think. Yes, I'll present for him. This is a renewal of our Department of Corrections contract for the fiscal year 2024. This is for a cemetery crew. I know there were questions about an additional crew, and we did inquire to the Department of Corrections, and they did say that they did not have a crew available. We will continue to pursue that and ask for consideration of crews in the future, but at this time, they did not have any additional crews to supply to the city. The crew this year, of course, will provide the same provisions of labor and supervising correction officer, and the city will continue to provide the transportation and tools and equipment. The cost is budgeted at $49,318 and will go toward in the cemetery's budget for the fiscal year 24.
Any questions from commission?
I have a question. Are they pretty much back to normal as far as schedule and coming Monday through Thursdays, post COVID?
Yes, they have resumed their schedules.
Okay. So when we gave up our second crew, someone else jumped at it.
I'm not sure what happened with that. We didn't, well, in the communication that he sent to the attorney for DOC who handles all this, we didn't ask about where the crew went, but we're assuming that the crew may have been taken by someone else.
You know, I don't think they've got the participants that they had when we started this. I think they're way, way down.
And I think you're right, Commissioner, because actually, you know, they have to have people to kind of volunteer. They cannot enforce or force them to work on the cruise. So I think the availability of people is another concern that, you know, may be why they don't have the availability.
Well, I can just say that I miss the days that they had skilled labor, and the whole, one of the main purposes for the DOC was to provide a marketable skill for the detainees that were coming out of the program. And it's really unfortunate, but
You're also unfortunate you lost George Mock too.
yes.
Very unfortunate.
Well, and I think this is something that we may want to inquire to some of our state officials about and talk about, you know, because I think it is very good that people can be trained or, you know, get work experience and skills during that time, if possible.
Mhm.
You know, what you might do is talk to the sheriff in the county and see if they wouldn't implement a program similar to this.
Well, I remember it was pretty strong at the state level, through the Department of Corrections. I know when we worked on Hanover Square, and the crew that came was phenomenal, and it was a big deal. I think we were one of the first communities that actually worked with, one of these work crews that were training. I mean, they were gaining skills, marketable skills, for when they got released.
Yeah, I have knowledge of them building and constructing full facilities
Mhm.
around the state. So
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm. It would be great to advocate back for that.
You have a question?
Any additional questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Georgia Department of Corrections in the amount of $49,318.
Second.
Thank you.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to city attorney's items. Consider approval of memorandum of understanding. It's gonna be long. Let me get my breath ready.
And do
Well,
I need to recuse myself on this too?
yes.
Yeah. Do I don't need to read the whole thing. You got it?
No,
All right, good.
I'll help out on that.
Good deal.
Because this is what you have before you has been significantly revised. I'm going to share my screen. This is an agreement that's being brought forward or was brought forward to the city's attention from Forward Brunswick. It is a T-Mobile grant opportunity. I believe the programmatic terminology is T-Mobile Hometown Grant. And if you look it up, it's essentially providing $50,000 for small towns to complete certain types of development projects, whether they're spanning from technology, education, environment, and healthcare in eligible towns with populations of less than 50,000. So what the purpose of the grant would be is to bring forward grant opportunity through T-Mobile. Forward Brunswick is submitting the application, which is essentially on behalf of the city of Brunswick, but it's also including the funding identified for the project by Signature Squares, which is Hillary Square on Norwich Street. Part of why there is the MOU is established this way is just the internal requirements and application process by T-Mobile. So the reason, and I've had to talk to Lance and Commissioner Martin on multiple occasions just to get my head wrapped around what T-Mobile is seeking from the city. You know, what's the best opportunity for us to have, or the highest and best opportunity for us to get this grant funding. And this was seemingly the best legal structure put forth. So I'm going to share my screen. Because this is the most recent iteration of the agreement of the MOU. And I think this will do the best job of putting forth an MOU that I think T-Mobile would look at and say, this is exactly what we've asked for. It's in our wheelhouse, and it's a good opportunity to have this grant be approved. So as revised, it is a MOU between Forward Brunswick Incorporated, Signature Squares of Brunswick Incorporated, and the city of Brunswick, Georgia. I've gone through, there's multiple new whereas clauses because as I read through some of the stuff that was on the T-Mobile website related to the hometown grant application, it just felt appropriate to show all of the roles of the three different entities: Forward Brunswick bringing forth the application and administering the grant, Signature Squares as being a community partner that has already completed restoration projects within the city of Brunswick. And then, of course, the city of Brunswick as the political subdivision that would also be obligated as to match the grant funding of 50,000. 50,000 is the maximum amount provided by this particular type of grant. So it's what we're asking for, maxing it out. Hillary Square is located at 1515 Norwich Street. Based on the project eligibility on the grant application, it appears to be right within those types of projects. Just looking through there's a long list of projects that have already been completed with this type of grant. Hillary Square would be a very appropriate project to get done. So going forward, I set forth the purpose. The project responds to the two critical needs in the city. Again, pulling these from sort of that grant language. That's why it's included in there. But most importantly, the responsibilities of the parties are set forth on the bottom of page 2. Top of page 3, Forward Brunswick will serve as T-Mobile grantee to apply for and administer the grant. This shall include services to reimburse the city of Brunswick for the services and materials and the amount of the grant funds received, and not to exceed $50,000. Again, that's the max that could be awarded by T-Mobile. Ford Brunswick will also assist Signature Squares if there's a necessity to seek out additional funding for the project. Signature Squares, as we know, will serve as the organization that will, do the design, construction, and restoration of Hillary Square. They will also, of course, have the ability, if necessary, to seek out additional gap funding. And then the city of Brunswick is obligated to match 50% of. I thought that was, is it 50% of the total grant funding or?
It's
50,000.
It's a equal match.
Okay,
Yeah.
equal match. So I actually need to adjust that. So it would be an equal match of the overall amount of 100,000 if we get the grant funding. So the max amount the city will be obligated will be $50,000. So I'll make sure to make that clear in that particular term. And this doesn't prohibit the city from seeking additional funding for the project. It does not prohibit the city from providing in-kind services, which we've done in the past with Signature Squares. It is just an MOU to sort of tie the three entities together and be able to present the best application to T-Mobile. I added some additional terms and conditions that we've had in most of our other MOUs. The term is for 1 year. We have a termination clause if necessary, but in reality, if the project is granted, if the project receives the grant funding, I don't think any of that will be an issue. That's sort of all I have other than the regular boilerplate legal terminology. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them, or I'll make Lance.
And I know Signature Squares has been part of revitalizing downtown. Ford Brunswick has been an amazing partner, in that effort and others throughout the city. With that, we will open it up for questions from the commission.
I have a question that transfers over from our finance committee meeting. They were supposed to provide some additional information as to the cost of the total project.
I can't speak to that. I know that there was a budget submitted and the information I received that helped me try to draft the MOU. So is that the? I could pull it up real quick if you want me.
Yeah, we didn't get it and we were supposed to have received that information.
One moment, Commissioner.
You mean are you talking about the overall cost of the project?
Yes. Yes, what we discussed in the finance committee meeting. Yeah, we as the mayor had so eloquently stated in that meeting, we were not trying to hold up this moving forward to the full commission with the understanding that additional information would be provided.
There's a budget in the package that says $114,888. Did you not get that?
I've got it here.
Yeah, it was in our.
It has, Commissioner Harris, it also has additional tabs. So you have a summary budget on one tab and then 3 additional tabs breaking out more details about the project. And I think Mr. Corey has just shared that on screen. Can you see that?
That's just talking. Here. It says she's talking.
Commissioner Harris, you're on mute. If you're speaking.
Well, I was just saying, I was going back through my package and I didn't see that. I just saw the MOU.
It's on page 87.
87. Okay. Okay, I got it. My oversight. 114,817.60. Okay. cost share in kind. T-Mobile grant. Okay, so the cost share in kind is 64,816.60. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that comprises,
I think if I look and switch it.
that's the income. The cost share in kind, the income. We're getting the grant. So the cost share in kind, is that what's going to be coming? Is that inclusive of the 50,000 that the city, the in-kind services, or what?
Yes, it is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's, and the additional $14,000 is coming from where?
We project, Commissioner Harris, that would be additional gap funding that both myself and Signature Squares would acquire.
Okay,
And again, just to remind the commission, the goal of this grant was, as some of our mission and objectives is for Brunswick is for obviously amenities and beautification. We're providing the resources for this grant writer and the time to administer the grant. We're not taking any resources out of the hopefully awarded dollar amount, with the objective that the city in their already budgeted SPLOST dollars for improvements to our Signature Squares, that we could help stretch those dollars, quite a bit farther. So again, the goal was to hopefully raise at least 50% of the funding to support the revitalization of Hillary Square, which again, hopefully will have some additional benefits, i.e. starting to activate the Norwich Street corridor, and beautify again some of our gateways to the downtown. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, the intent, Lance, is pretty much is to use this as a leveraging.
That's correct, and be able to take the SPLOST dollars that have already been approved and budgeted, and hopefully the goal would be, as we continue collections down the road, be able to take the $50,000 that would have needed to be spent for Hillary Square and slide that to another square down the line.
Okay, awesome.
Unless there's any other questions, I think the only addition I would have is that based on the review, I believe this application is due June 30th. That's what or the close, the date, the window closes to apply is June 30th.
The only other stipulation, and I don't know what the latest amendment, I just need to review, but the grant does ask us to complete the project in a 12-month span. And that's part of the reason this project was so applicable to the requirements, is that it was requiring a shovel-ready plan. So we've got something already ready to go, and I think we can initiate. I believe actually City Engineer Garrow Albertson has already, and Mr. Nelson have already actually started some preliminary work on that square already. So.
Wonderful. Any additional questions? Hearing none, we will open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU between the city of Brunswick, Forward Brunswick, Signature Squares of Brunswick, and Brunswick Downtown Development Authority for executing the renovation of Hillary Square through a T-Mobile hometown grant of $50,000. That's pretty thorough.
I think we may need to amend the motion just to touch what we need to do.
To remove Downtown Development Authority is no longer necessary.
Okay.
I will remove the Downtown Development
Thank you,
Authority.
Commissioner.
That's it. So amended motion to remove the Downtown Development Authority. With that being forward, I will open it up for a second. I will second it with a first and a second. All those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Excellent.
Thank you. We will now move on to announcements. City Manager McDuffie, improving neighborhood outcomes in disproportionately impacted communities grant award. They got to do better at the award names. Something better.
They all ought to stand up for this.
Good evening again. I am truly excited to announce that the city was awarded our grant application for the neighborhood as you said, because it's long. $2.1 million for renovations and improvements of Howard Coffin Park facilities. So I think that. Yeah. And I also like to recognize my assistant city manager who worked really hard to guide this process. I would like to introduce Mary Jo D'Angelo, who is in the audience. Mary Jo, stand up. Mary Jo prepared the application as a volunteer and person to help the city. And Mary Jo has been working with us to assess grants and look at other grants. We are going to try contract with her to help us to continue, but she basically did a tremendous amount of work to support the grant, to refile information. Also want to recognize Tim Nelson and Garo Abelson from our Public Works Engineering. They were instrumental in getting documents, drawings, information. And I also want to just give a shout out to the mayor, because he basically, when we talked about this, I was looking at some projects and he said, how about Howard Coffin Park? And basically, you know, spurred us in that direction. And I want to thank you for that. Because it did help us to get that money for the park, get our recreation off to a great start. And this is just a win-win for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I wanna piggyback a little bit, because I think 9 times out of 10, when Regina, Jeremiah, Garo, all of those on the staff and commissioners have to do the treks to Atlanta and Savannah and all of those places, this is the things that we bring back home. So it's a lot of work and it's a lot of people knocking on doors, and we want to give a shout out to not only Governor Kemp, who this allocation came directly out of his office, but also Senator Hodges and Representative Townsend, who were supportive on the state level as we move this through the process. So a big shout out to not only the commission, but everyone involved who brought this home so we could really get started in the Parks and Rec. So that's awesome. With that, I think we have executive session for the real estate and litigation. So we will open it up for a motion. Mayor Pro Tem Martin is very upset that you.
Yeah, no, so moved to go into executive session for real estate and litigation.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by a sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, we are adjourned for executive session. Oh, when we have quorum, we will now open it for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to pursue litigation based on the recommendation of City Attorney Corey.
Hearing the first, do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and the second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, the motion passes. With that, we will open it for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Hearing the first and second, all those in favor show by the usual sign of aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Hearing none, motion is passed. We are adjourned.